Welcome back, Santa Clarita Valley. We're here on SCV Sheriff Talk, where twice a month we discuss Santa Clarita Valley Sheriff Station outreach. And with me, I have not my regular co-host, Shirley Miller, the PIO of the Santa Clarita Valley Sheriff Station. She wasn't able to make it today, so in her place, we have Deputy Kevin Duxbury.
Hi.
Thank you, Kevin. And with us, Deputy Fanny Lapkin.
Good morning.
Deputy Amy Raniag.
Good morning.
And law enforcement technician for the Santa Clarita Valley Sheriff Station, Marty Perez.
Good morning.
And thank you for coming with us, guys. I wanted to talk a little bit about we've been in the news, Santa Clarita Valley again, with this sand fire. I don't know if you guys heard about that. It was burning on the east side of the Santa Clarita Valley, about 41,000 acres torch, and we're right about at 100% containment. We just kind of wanted to talk about what you guys have been doing with the sand fire. I know that there was a command post for Santa Clarita Valley Sheriff Station deputies, and you were assisting Los Angeles County Cal Fire and Angeles National Forest firefighters. So what were you guys doing, and what was the response like during the sand fire for the Sheriff Station deputies?
Well, I know that this was a huge fire, so our incident command team were the ones that came over and took place, and it's a corroboration between fire, forest, LAPD, CHP, the Sheriff's Department. They come in and together they figure out what needs to be done. At a station level, we opened our EOC, which is our Emergency Operations Center, and we basically took over that answering phone calls. People from the community were asking a million questions. When do we get back? Whether or not certain road closures were lifted, where to donate, and that was one of the other biggest things. Donations for families and for us, law enforcement, firemen, were huge.
And it's not every day that you see the deputies bring out the big, large green truck. Is that what you're talking about when you say the Emergency Operations Center? It's an enormous RV that's basically a mobile command center, right?
Yes, and we had multiple. If you guys multiple trailers, RVs, whatever you want to call them, there were several from fire, CHP, Highway Patrol, ours. I think Sheriff's Department had 3 mobile command centers out at Golden Valley. We have ours at the Sheriff's Station, but we actually opened our in-house EOC, which is at the station level, answering phone calls that were being transferred from our operator to us.
And you guys were basically there, around the clock. You said you guys were working 12-hour shifts.
Yeah, they put the North Patrol Division was on 12 and 12s, which was we work 12 hours on, and then we have 12 hours off. And they did that for 2 days. Okay. Because at that point when they finally started getting a little bit of containment, because for few days it was 10% contained,
right?
And it was
growing very fast, yes, very rapidly,
very unpredictable, according to a lot of firemen,
right? And so what were you guys, you guys were helping with evacuations, or as far as what were you doing from the command post during the sand fire?
From the command post, the one at the station level, it was just answering phone calls for community members.
Oh, okay.
The one at Golden Valley, they were the ones pretty much in charge of what's going to get evacuated, who's going to be allowed back into their homes, which is mandatory evacuations. And as law enforcement, we were making sure that the homes that were evacuated, that nobody went back and started looting or started doing stuff. So we had roving patrols that would check the areas. There was hard closures, which means nobody's going in. Even if you have an ID.
Right. So making sure people
and safety. Advising people that they should evacuate.
And we heard at some point, even there was, in emergency situations, there were deputies grabbing hoses and just helping and doing whatever.
This fire was rapidly changing and so unpredictable that some deputies were caught up with firemen, and they were telling them to shelter in place at one point because the fire was coming over the hill pretty quick. But it's something that fire department did an outstanding job. The Forest Services did an outstanding job with trying to limit the amount. Unfortunately, we did have homes and structures that burned. Unfortunately, there was a fatality, but they did an outstanding job for the unpredictable, the way the fire was. It was so unpredictable.
And it was really nice to see people kept bringing you guys stuff too
yes.
at the command center. I would look over and there would be, constantly people would be calling us and asking us, hey, what can we give? What can we do to help? So that was really nice too.
We are very fortunate. We some of us live and work in the community that we patrol, and the community is very, very generous. We had food every day, 24/7, food, water, snacks, and we took those to the command post. But once the incident command center came about, it's a town. They built a town around these command centers. They had food services for all the fire shot crews, I think they're called. So it was, but at the station level, it was great. Again, the community is very generous and very grateful. We're very grateful for the donations, and it helped, for us that were there for 12 on 12 hours. And
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah,
It's a pretty long shift.
Yes, it gets pretty tiresome.
But, it brings up a good point I wanted to ask you, Kevin, about some fire safety, because, one of the things, Deputy Lapkin, you mentioned, unfortunately, we had a fatality, and people lost their homes. And so, when this happens, it's a good opportunity to remind people of what the importance of, heeding those early warnings, being proactive, making out your own warnings, creating your own systems, right?
Yeah, I mean, right now, our city is pretty much surrounded by a tinderbox with the drought and all the overgrowth and everything in the hills. I think it's safe to say that is not going to be our last fire this season. So, what people can do to be more prepared for it really is, if there's a fire in the area, there's a lot of pre-planning you can do and preparations. If you have a good list of things that you should need to take if you want to evacuate, and by that I mean those things that are irreplaceable, like family photos, computer hard drives, things of that nature. Have all those things ready. If you have an RV, if you have a motorhome or a trailer, that's a great emergency shelter for yourself if you have that preloaded and pre-packed and ready to go. If you have pets, you want to make sure you have enough food for your pet to take with you when you evacuate. But, any early signs, if you see a fire in the hills and you're concerned that there might be an evacuation, you don't have to wait for the evacuation. That's the perfect time to go over that checklist, pack everything up, and evacuate yourselves if you deem it necessary. Now, if it does come down to it's a life-threatening emergency, human lives cannot be replaced. Grab the pets, grab the kids, and go. Everything else you can replace later.
And that's one of the things I was looking at in the statistics, is that while almost 75% of people have a plan, less than half have practiced it. That's what the actual statistics say. So, the importance of that and actually drilling it so you are ready. I mean, it's one thing to just write it down, but then actually going through and, going through the drill.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Go down that list, rehearse packing everything up, and, another good prior planning, things that people can do right now. When we evacuate, the hotels are going to fill up very quickly. If you have some pre-plans to stay with friends or relatives out of the city, or if you even know where the hotels outside the city are that you could possibly get a room for the night, you'll know which ones accept pets in advance, so you're not struggling with that. Those are all
little
things
details.
Just little details that you can start preparing for right now, so that if we do have another fire, and I think there's a good chance that we will, that you're ready for it, and it'll just be that much less stress on you.
Here's another interesting statistic. People often thought they would have at least 6 minutes for an evacuation, and it turns out you actually have less than that. I mean, is that your experience when somebody you're actually the person that's knocking on the door most of the time. So, I mean, what's the situation there when you're evacuating someone? What do you tell them?
When, if it's come to the point that we're knocking on doors and evacuating, that means it's time to go right now, immediately. So,
you have about a minute or two, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Sorry.
At that point, it's too late to prep for evacuations. If the deputies are knocking on your door, you hear the announcements, it's too late for you to plan to evacuate. You should be ready, have your things by the door, especially if you know there's a fire going on near your area. Keep your bags near the door, back your car up into the driveway, so when you hear the deputies, and again, like my partner said, you don't have to wait for the deputies to tell you to evacuate, or the fire department. If you see that maybe you should get out of the way, because sometimes it becomes a problem. Fire department's trying to get into your
Absolutely.
home, and you're trying to leave. So fire does a really good job trying to anticipate where the fires are and how they're going to act, quote unquote, but just if you see a fire, start planning for it. Like my partner said, don't wait for the department, because if we knock on your door, it's too late for you to start gathering your things.
Well, and, is one thing I think it's important to say is that, you guys don't have time to negotiate with someone or help them figure out what their priorities are, what they should be grabbing. It's like you need to be ready for your own stuff and get the heck out of there, right?
Yes, like my partner said, life is the most important property. Unfortunately, we could replace. But our life is not.
Very important message. We want to talk a little bit more about Santa Clarita Valley Sheriff Station outreach and the upcoming Community Academy when we come back from this commercial break on SCV Sheriff Talk, brought to you by All American Bail Bonds on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. Welcome back, Santa Clarita Valley. Here on SCV Sheriff Talk, where twice a month we discuss public outreach with the Santa Clarita Valley Sheriff Station. And with me in the studio, my co-host today, Deputy Kevin Duxbury, Zone Leader for Stevenson Ranch.
Hi.
Oh, we're gonna work on your introductions, Kevin. And next to him, Deputy Fanny Lapkin and Deputy Amy Raniag, and Law Enforcement Technician from the Santa Clarita Valley Sheriff Station, Mari Perez. Thank you again, guys, for coming in the studio. And Deputy Lapkin wanted to talk a little bit about the Community Academy that's coming up. That's one of the things in your purview, but before we talk about that, if we can back it up and just tell us a little bit for our listeners, the few of them out there who haven't met you yet, because you're all over the place in Santa Clarita Valley for outreach.
Yes.
Tell us about what you do and how long have you been with the station?
I've been with the station since 2008, so it's been here for 8 years. I've been with the department for 19 years. So I am the community relations deputy here at the Santa Clarita Sheriff Station, which the umbrella is volunteers, explorers, running the community academy, and any event that
Some of the great events like Haunted Jailhouse that you guys do?
Toy drive.
The toy drive?
Our buddy here, Deputy Duxbury, does the Safe Shred, so he helps out with that. So we do many events here in the community, and like I said, we're very lucky and fortunate to be in this community because we do get a lot of support from our community. And one of the biggest events that we have it twice a year, is our Community Academy.
Now, this has been around for about what, did you say 14th annual?
This is the 14th annual, so I started when I came on in community relations about 2 years ago. They stopped at 10, so this is my 5th one. So we try to do two a year. And it's basically, this program is basically an opportunity from people that, residents that live or work in the community, get just a glimpse of what we do. Normally it's about a 7 to 8 week. This one is an 8-week program. It starts August 16th, so it's right around the corner, and it ends October 4th. Okay. So, and we have a variety of things that we do. We do a jail tour at one of our facilities. We go to a simulator that is called a shoot, don't shoot simulator. And basically, the participants get to pretend they're law enforcement, they're deputies, and they get scenarios, and they get to react on those scenarios. And
what's an example of the simulator? What would that put you through? Like for the don't shoot thing?
One of the simulators is the 21-foot rule. We talk about the 21-foot rule is basically if somebody's 21 feet away from you and they have a knife, it takes 3 seconds for law enforcement to react, see the threat, react, and pull the triggers. 3 seconds.
3 seconds.
3 seconds. So we teach them, okay, you have 3 seconds to react to this. A lot of them don't think about it. It's not quick. Granted, we have a little bit more training, but
it's not something that would come to you naturally unless you were trained and prepared
yes.
and knew what you were doing.
Under the stress, also there's scenarios where they have to shoot, or else there's a weapon there. There's either a knife or a gun pointed at you. What are you going to do? I mean, unfortunately, we're not going to wait to be shot.
Right.
I mean, we have a family. We want to go home also, but people react. We ask them, why didn't you shoot him in the arm? Why don't you shoot him in the leg? Why don't you shoot the gun out? Well, we can't. It's split-second decision.
You have 3 seconds.
And it's basically just a glimpse. It's just a glimpse of what we do. We talk about traffic. We talk about, court procedures. Our juvenile intervention team comes and talks to us, our COBRA team.
I mean, you guys have such a wide range between custody and policing and community outreach. Like, how do you condense that into like 7 sessions into
2 hours. 2 hours. Tuesday nights.
2 action-packed hours.
2
right?
hour action, and we do, and we have a tour. Like I said, we have a tour of the jail, and they get to see the inside of a facility. No, go ahead.
What are some of the more popular features of it, or where do you hear? You've done a few of these. Where do you get the most feedback as far as where's the resonance and where's the connection with people?
The shoot don't shoot simulator, because we try to give them 2 or 3 different scenarios,
right.
And they vary from depending on the class, but we vary from domestic violence to mental health issues is one of them. So those are the ones that it's eye opening for them, because we're
unless you're in that world, you don't really understand what's going on, right?
Yes, and split-second decisions that every deputy has to make on a daily basis, and we put them through that trial, and we ask them, why did you do that? Why couldn't you do this? The same questions we get asked when we get involved in any type of force. So, and that's one of the I think biggest eye openers for them, and they become advocates for us. we've been out there in the community where I've seen members that have gone through our classes where they're the ones saying, hey, they're doing their job. Let them do their job. They're here to protect us.
Right.
They're here to protect the other people. So if they get a glimpse of what we do and what we
Walk a mile in the shoes.
yes, then I think they have a better understanding, especially in today's society, the way law enforcement in general is.
Is that similar to what you'd see after maybe somebody takes a ride along with the sheriff's station deputy? I mean, similar type of education?
Similar, because they actually go through ride-alongs also, but in a ride-along, depending on the day, you can take report calls, or you can go what we call code 3 calls from, emergency call to emergency call. This is
Right.
actually, we talk from the beginning. We talk about history of law enforcement. We talk about detective bureau, courts, traffic, narcotics. We've talked about our COBRA, which is our gangs. They're in charge of our gang team here, and then we have a closing graduation, and it's kind of a meet and greet. Our mayor of Santa Clarita usually goes. Usually Ms. Rosalind Wayman shows up and
from
helps us out
Antonovich's
from
office.
Antonovich's office. So it's actually a good. It's a good program.
How big is the class?
It's 20 max.
Okay,
20
so
participants.
you limited that just
Yes.
so kind of you can get more of a one-on-one, I would imagine?
Yes, and that's why it becomes a logistical problem to
Right.
get to the tour, to get to the shoot, don't shoot.
Everyone's got to have a ride-along.
Yes, everybody has to have a ride along. So it logistically 20 is a good amount to actually manage and get a good it's a close knit. I still get emails from people
Awesome.
that want to become volunteers. We
Oh,
get our
really?
volunteer pool from there because they're like, now I know what to do. I want to give back.
Very cool.
So it's actually a good program.
So who can apply to the academy and who's eligible for this? Can anyone do it? Is there a cost?
There is no cost to them.
Okay.
They have to be 18 and over. It has to be. You have to be an adult. You have to live or work within the city or the county of Santa Clarita, within Santa Clarita Valley.
Okay.
You have to live, and you have an application. We have to run a background check because you're coming into a secure facility. So
I understand.
we have to run a
You're going to be
background
behind
check.
closed doors,
yes,
if you will.
Yes. So once we realize how many applicants that we have, then we do a lottery.
Oh, okay.
Pull
so
names
you
out.
usually get more
Literally,
than 20 is
yes,
what you're
we
saying.
do. Right now we're at 30.
Interesting.
So
Interesting.
it's a lottery. We figure out who pulled names out of the hat. That's the only fair thing that we can do.
So you graduate top of the class, or you just get a certificate? How does
They
that
get a
work?
certificate for
Okay.
both the city, our county, and then last year we got our congressman.
Oh, very cool.
Yes,
Mr.
they were
Knight.
very fortunate that they participated in that also.
Awesome. Well, we've got a lot more outreach to talk about. We have to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back on your SCV Sheriff Talk, brought to you by All American Bail Bonds on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.